In a twist of fate that seemed almost cruelly poetic, a man found himself abruptly dismissed from his job, his heart weighed down by the sting of unfair dismissal. The reason for his sudden unemployment? His compassionate decision to part with his last $100, which he had selflessly given to a despondent young girl who was aimlessly wandering along the side of the road. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. The injustice of his situation was starkly illuminated when a glossy, black luxury car came to an abrupt stop beside him, its immaculate exterior gleaming under the flickering streetlights. As the window of the opulent vehicle rolled down, it revealed the very girl he had helped the previous day, her face now graced with a radiant, sincere smile that seemed to light up the entire night. "Hello there," she greeted him, her voice a soothing melody amidst the harshness of his recent ordeal. "I'm Jay Miller. My life, you see, isn't filled with grandeur or notable accolades. I am merely a laborer at a modest factory, having started my working life right after high school. Today, I stumbled upon a young girl who appeared utterly worn out and desolate. She was dressed in a high school uniform, but it was clear it didn't belong to this area. Even amidst the bitter chill of the evening, she was without a coat, her knees bearing the evidence of scraped skin, and her clothes were in a state of disarray. It was as though she had been forsaken by the world. My heart ached at the sight of her suffering, and a wave of concern surged through me. What could have brought her to this state? Why was she out here alone at this hour? Was she unwell? I watched her as she tried to stave off the cold, rubbing her hands and legs together in a desperate attempt to generate some warmth. From time to time, she would blow on her hands, trying to coax some semblance of heat from the freezing air. The sight of her, so isolated and vulnerable in the face of such harsh elements, was deeply unsettling. What could I possibly do to alleviate her plight? My mind raced with the urgency of the situation, and I resolved to take action. Without a moment's hesitation, I darted into the nearest coffee shop, my thoughts consumed by the desire to offer some form of comfort. I purchased steaming cups of coffee and hot beverages, along with a selection of donuts, and hurried back to where she was. As I neared her, I noticed the startled look in her eyes, a mix of surprise and cautious hope. "Good evening," I said softly, my voice intended to be a balm to her anxiety. "Please don't be afraid. I'm here to offer some assistance. You look like you could use a bit of warmth. Here, would you like some of this fresh hot lemon tea?" She accepted the tea with a tentative grace, pressing the cup against her cheek, reveling in the comforting warmth it provided. "I can imagine you must be hungry as well, which might be adding to your discomfort," I continued, offering her a donut. "I'm not exactly sure what teenage girls like, so I just picked a random one. I hope it's something you'll enjoy." As I handed it to her, she responded with a soft, heartfelt thanks, her eyes reflecting a profound gratitude that spoke volumes. At that moment, her simple acknowledgement of my small gesture of kindness felt like a beacon of hope amidst the shadows of her hardship. "Are you heading home yet?" I inquired gently. She shook her head, her silence speaking volumes. A troubling thought crossed my mind. Had she run away from home? Yet, I didn't want to pry too deeply into her private troubles. Then, she nervously lifted her skirt, revealing legs marred with painful, ugly wounds. "What happened to your legs?" I asked, concern evident in my voice. She quickly pulled her skirt back down, trying to hide the visible damage. "Did someone hurt you? Were you in a fight?" She tensed up, her discomfort palpable, clearly reluctant to open up. "Okay, I understand," I said softly. "There are things you might not want to discuss, and that's perfectly all right. You don't have to talk if you're not ready. But staying here could be risky. There are dangerous people around. How about you try to head home?" In a quiet, almost timid voice, she replied, "No, I was planning to go to my dad's place, which is quite far away, her father's place." This suggested she was currently with her mother, and from the look of things, Her situation wasn't something that would resolve easily or quickly. "Why don't you try calling your dad? Maybe he can come to get you." "I don't know his phone number." "I don't even have a cell phone," she admitted, her voice tinged with a hint of frustration. I was taken aback that a teenager in this day and age didn't have a cell phone. "Do you know the address? Can you tell me where it is?" She nodded and handed me a small scrap of paper with an address scrawled on it. It was an address I didn't recognize. "This is where you might be able to reach him," I said, trying to offer reassurance. She nodded again. The address seemed far, and considering the late hour, I was unsure. Nevertheless, I pulled out my smartphone and looked up the address. To my surprise, it led to Rilt Group, a construction company. "Maybe this will help," I said, jotting down a phone number I found associated with the address. I handed it to her. "Here's a phone number I found for that address. Call it tomorrow, you might find out more about your dad. The company is called Rilt Group, so maybe your dad works in construction. I hope you can get in touch with him soon." A grateful smile spread across her face. "Thank you. But I don't have anywhere to stay tonight." "I'll help with that," I offered. "You can stay at a nearby hotel tonight. Let me make a reservation for you. You should be able to stay comfortably on your own, right?" "I don't have any money," she replied, her voice tinged with embarrassment. I had little money left myself, but I did have a $100 bill tucked away. I decided it was enough to cover a night's stay. "Don't worry about it. I can cover the cost for tonight. After you've had a warm bath and a good night's rest, you can call your dad in the morning." "But I can't repay you," she protested. "Don't worry about repayment. The important thing is that you get to see your dad. Just focus on getting through tonight," I reassured her. With that, I made a reservation at a nearby hotel that included breakfast, handing over the $100 bill. I spoke with the hotel staff, asking them to let her make a phone call in the morning, and then I left her at the hotel. Though my wallet was now empty, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment from helping her. As I walked home, I felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing I had made a difference. A few days later, I received a call from the factory manager, Potter. "Did you call for me?" I asked, anticipation and curiosity mingling in my voice. Being summoned by the factory manager was an unprecedented event for me since I had started working at the factory. The very thought of being called into his office made my pulse quicken with a blend of anxiety and confusion. As I made my way down the hallway to his office, my mind was a whirlwind of speculation and dread. When I finally entered his office, I was met with a sight that felt almost surreal. The manager, impeccably dressed in an expensive, tailored suit, seemed entirely out of place for someone overseeing such a modest operation. His appearance was starkly contrasted with the factory's humble surroundings, and the disparity left me feeling uneasy and on edge. "It's James, right?" he asked, his tone formal and authoritative, cutting through the tension in the room. "Yes, sir. I'm James Mimler," I replied, my voice trembling slightly despite my best efforts to sound composed.
"Right. Well, I'm afraid I have some unfortunate news for you. You're no longer needed here."
I stared at him, stunned and unable to immediately process his words. "I'm sorry, what do you mean?" "I mean you're fired," he said bluntly, his expression unyielding. The abruptness of his declaration was jarring. But why? I don't understand. Did I make a mistake or do something wrong? I can't recall any incidents that would warrant being fired. "We don't want troublemakers in our company," he said dismissively, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "A troublemaker? I don't see how that applies to me. What exactly are you accusing me of?" "You have connections with the mafia, don't you?" he said, his accusation hanging in the air like a dark cloud. What? That's completely untrue, I exclaimed, shock and disbelief evident in my voice. It's unbelievable. I gave you a chance despite your lack of qualifications, only a high school diploma, and now you're allegedly involved with the mafia. I just can't believe it. This must be some kind of mistake. I've never had any dealings with the mafia, and they've never bothered me. You can say whatever you want, but the fact remains that I have no connections to the mafia. There must be some misunderstanding, I insisted, desperation creeping into my voice. Well, the mafia is supposedly looking into you. As a company, we can't afford to employ someone with such associations. We never wanted to hire a high school graduate in the first place. The previous manager used to say if someone is motivated, that's enough, even if they only have a high school education. Really? The previous manager made things quite difficult for me. He had a lot to say about my qualifications, I said, trying to understand the situation. Please, I assure you, I have no ties to the mafia. If I lose this job, how will I be able to survive? I couldn't care less if you end up destitute. That's not my problem. Why don't you ask the mafia for help? I'm sure they'll assist you, he said with a dismissive tone, showing no empathy. I swear, I have nothing to do with the mafia. This has to be a misunderstanding. Please don't fire me, I pleaded, my voice cracking with frustration and desperation. No, the decision is final. We don't want any associations with dubious elements in a small factory like ours. When you apply for a job next time, be honest about your background, he said, his voice cold and unwavering. I'm not lying. I've never been involved with such people. I don't even understand where this accusation is coming from, I said, trying to make him see reason. So were you hanging out with delinquents in high school? Are those the people the mafia is after, he asked, his tone dripping with skepticism. That's not possible, I replied firmly, shaking my head. Mr. Potter, I'm telling you the truth. Please, I'm begging you, reconsider. Enough. Just leave. I've instructed the office to settle your pay for today. Don't ever show your face in this company again, he said, his tone final and dismissive. I continued to protest, repeating that there must be a mistake, but he refused to listen, regarding me with a look of contempt, as if I were nothing more than an annoyance. He pointed decisively at the door and said, "Is that all you have to say? I've listened to your side of the story, and that's sufficient. Now leave. I have other matters to attend to." Feeling utterly defeated and humiliated, I turned to leave the office. The finality of his words echoed in my mind as I walked out, my heart heavy with a mix of confusion and sorrow. The injustice of it all seemed overwhelming, and as I stepped into the cold, unforgiving night, I felt a profound sense of loss and uncertainty about what the future held. The day that was supposed to mark the end of an era for me began with a sense of profound loss. The thin envelope handed to me in the manager's office symbolized the end of a 15-year chapter of my life, a chapter filled with hard work, dedication, and countless hours spent at the factory. It was heart-wrenching to think that all those years of commitment could be reduced to the contents of such a paltry envelope. As I stepped out of the factory gates for the last time, a wave of uncertainty washed over me. What was I supposed to do now? With only a thin envelope in my possession and no immediate prospects, I was left grappling with a sense of helplessness. My gaze fell to the ground, my thoughts consumed by the urgent need to find a new job before the last of my savings vanished. Amidst these troubled thoughts, a black tire suddenly came to a halt in front of me. The unexpected sight of a luxurious black car piqued my curiosity. I glanced up and saw the car was indeed a high-end model, far beyond the means of a factory worker. This must be someone important connected to the factory, I mused, thinking that the car's owner should be rushing inside the factory grounds. To my surprise, the driver, dressed in formal attire and wearing gloves, stepped out of the vehicle and respectfully opened the rear door. From the back seat emerged a well-dressed man and a young girl. The man, clearly affluent and exuding an air of authority, turned to the girl and asked, "Is this the person?" The girl nodded, and it dawned on me that she was the same young girl I had helped just days earlier. "Oh, you're the girl from that day. You must have met your dad, right? That's wonderful news. I'm truly relieved that you made it safely." The girl's face lit up with a bright smile as she hugged me warmly. "Thanks to you, my daughter was able to reach me safely. I can't thank you enough." "You're her father?" I asked, astonished. I was so worried about her. "You don't need to worry any longer. She told me you gave her your last money. I'm deeply grateful for that. If it's all right with you, I'd like to show my appreciation properly. Please, come with us." I hesitated, feeling overwhelmed. "Thank you very much for the offer, but I'm in a bit of a tough spot right now. I've lost my job and don't have a way to get home. It's kind of you, but I think I'll have to decline." "Please, accept this," the man insisted, handing me another envelope. "It's just a small token of our appreciation, but I want you to have it." I accepted the envelope and peered inside. My eyes widened in disbelief as I saw it was filled with cash, more than $10,000. "I can't accept this. It's far too generous. I only did a small thing." "No, please take it," he said firmly. "You did so much for my daughter. Without your help, I don't know what might have happened. This is my way of expressing my gratitude. Don't worry about the amount, just take it." The enormity of the gift left me at a loss. "It's a lot of money. I'm not sure if I can accept this." "Please, just take it," he urged. "All right, thank you very much," I said, feeling both overwhelmed and deeply appreciative. "I hope you find a new job soon." "Goodbye," he said as he and the girl got back into the car. As they drove away, I stood there, clutching the envelope, my mind reeling from the unexpected turn of events. Walking home with a significant sum of money in my pocket, I couldn't help but reflect on the incredible outcome of my small act of kindness. It felt surreal to think that helping someone could lead to such a profound change in my life. Later, as I examined the envelope, the man's identity was revealed through a business card that came with it. "I should have introduced myself earlier," he said on the card, which read "Boss of Rilk Family." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh my God, Mafia," I stammered. "Sorry, I should have mentioned it earlier," he said, sounding genuinely apologetic. "It's all right," I replied, still in shock but relieved. "You know, even a mafia boss is a parent. Thanks to you, I was able to reunite with my daughter. I'm truly grateful." "Yes, it was my pleasure," he said warmly. "By the way, I've been curious what exactly happened that day. Why was she out there?" I began to recount the details, the sense of satisfaction in helping someone slowly outweighing the sting of my recent misfortune. The unexpected twist of events left me grappling with a strange mixture of relief and confusion. As I recounted the story to the man, whose true identity had been revealed as the boss of the Rilk family, I found myself unexpectedly opening up. "Actually, I began, her mother and I divorced years ago. She remarried not long after. Her new husband was the vice president of a small factory. After her passing, his new wife moved in, and then, tragically, the president of the factory, who had always been kind to my daughter, also died. The vice president succeeded him, and from that point on, my daughter was treated like a complete nuisance." The boss nodded, his expression serious. "Could that be why her legs were bruised?" "Yes, exactly. She was hurt in places that wouldn't be easily visible, especially on her back. It was a terrible situation. I can't even imagine the pain she must have endured." The boss's expression softened slightly as he listened. Her mother gave her an amulet before she died, telling her to open it and seek help if she ever found herself in trouble. The note inside was meant to guide her. Unfortunately, not including a phone number was a mistake. My daughter was desperately trying to find me, but as a high school student, the distance was overwhelming. By the time you found her, her wallet was empty. If things had continued, she might have ended up freezing to death. I knew there had to be some mitigating circumstances. My daughter's new stepfather, the boss, continued, his voice tinged with a mix of anger and sadness, is someone I cannot forgive. He subjected her to unimaginable suffering. I swore to get revenge on him. I looked at him, understanding the depth of his anger. It's understandable. I can see why you feel that way. The conversation took a turn as the boss noticed the time and seemed to remember something. What about you, though? It's odd for me to bring this up, especially with someone I just met, but I was fired from my job today. Fired? Why? I was wrongfully accused of having connections with antisocial forces, I explained. I still don't know how this happened. This morning, out of nowhere, I was informed of these allegations and was dismissed.
The boss's demeanor shifted from curiosity to concern. He called over an executive, and after a brief exchange, his frustration was palpable. "Idiots," he exclaimed before turning back to me. "I'm sorry. This was my fellow's fault."
What do you mean? I wanted to express my gratitude so much that I had my team check up on you. They discovered where you worked but wanted to ensure you were employed there. It seems they mentioned our organization's name over the phone. That's probably how it reached you and led to the false accusations. So, it was a complete setup, I said, feeling a mix of relief and frustration. I'm sorry for the trouble. Don't apologize, the boss said firmly. I'll make things right. I'll talk to the manager tomorrow, clear up this misunderstanding, and everything should be resolved. That's very generous of you, I said, though my voice held an undercurrent of doubt. But to be honest, I'm not sure if I want to go back. Working under a manager who doesn't trust his employees is not something I'm willing to accept. I understand, the boss acknowledged. Do you have any other prospects lined up? No, embarrassingly, I don't have any other offers at the moment, I admitted. If I don't find something by the end of the month, I'm in a tough spot. But I'd prefer to stand my ground rather than return to a place where I'm not valued. Good for you, he said. In that case, how about I introduce you to a company run by an acquaintance of mine? They're not connected with the mafia or anything. I think my friend would appreciate having you. I hesitated, feeling conflicted. I appreciate the offer, truly. But given your affiliation, I can't help but question whether it's entirely above board. The boss seemed to understand my hesitation. Well, if you find yourself in a tough spot, just call the number on my card. I'm always here to help. He said this with a reassuring laugh, yet I was still wary. About a month later, my situation became dire. Despite numerous interviews, I hadn't secured a job, and the thought of settling for part-time work loomed large. One evening, feeling defeated and in need of companionship, I remembered the boss's offer. I picked up the phone and called him. I'm in the mood for a drink, but I don't have anyone to share it with. Would you mind keeping me company? Don't worry about the money, I'm just asking for your company. The boss's response was warm and genuine. Even though he was a member of the mafia, his kindness and understanding struck me deeply. I accepted his invitation, grateful for the company and the chance to talk with someone who seemed to genuinely care. As we shared a drink, I reflected on the twists and turns of the past few weeks. It was a reminder that sometimes, even in the most unexpected places, kindness and understanding could be found, no matter how improbable it might seem. The conversation continued with a blend of concern and curiosity as we sat in the dimly lit bar, each with a cold beer in hand. The mafia boss's proposal was both unexpected and intriguing. If it was a bar, you don't want much, right? I asked with a half-hearted laugh, trying to ease the tension. That's not true. I'm offering to treat you, and here you are picking a bar over a fancy restaurant. Well, I've never been to a fancy restaurant. It makes me restless. Honestly, I feel more at ease in a casual bar. I see. Guess I wasn't very considerate. No, not at all. I lifted my beer mug, taking a long, appreciative gulp. I'll take this with thanks, I said, savoring the cold, frothy drink. It felt good to be at ease, if only for a moment. So, did you find a job? Not yet. Being a high school graduate, it seems quite difficult. I've applied to quite a few companies, but no luck. That's unfortunate. Sorry. Yeah, I was thinking. Would you mind lending me a hand for a moment? My heart skipped a beat at the thought of being involved with the mafia in any capacity. The notion of assisting someone like him was daunting, to say the least. He must have sensed my hesitation, as his next words took me by surprise. Man, how can I refuse? After hearing his suggestion, it seemed he understood my reluctance, as his proposal was far from what I had imagined. Even though I'm with the mafia, it doesn't mean we only do bad things. I just want to serve justice to the man who tormented my daughter. Justice. Yes, over the past month, I've been investigating who exactly did such horrible things to my daughter. It turned out to be the manager of the company you worked for. He's the one who runs the factory now. The previous manager was hands-on and always involved. But this guy wears expensive suits and never shows his face in the factory. He lives in a luxury residential area over an hour away by car. That's why he always arrived late. Exactly, a classic case of executive time cling. My daughter was practically his maid, and it seems she wasn't even fed properly, crying while eating a single bagel. Really? That bad? Yes, it's true. How dare he do that to my daughter, the boss muttered with frustration as he finished his beer. That's why I want to get revenge for what he did to my daughter. But when you talk about revenge, of course, I'm not planning anything bad. I don't want to end up in jail and miss out on my time with my daughter for a scumbag like him. So, we're going to do it legally. Legally. Yes. That's why I set up a company. What kind of company? In the same field, but honestly, it's a bore. What I'm itching to do is seize control of that company. Seize control. Yeah, seize control. We'll take over and oust the manager. I've got the lowdown on him. He's drowning in personal debt, mostly from gambling and such, and now he's tapping into the company's profits to bail himself out. Really? Yeah, that's why the staff's pay is so meager. It took a nosedive after the last manager died. True that. Our paychecks took a hit after the last manager bit the dust. That's the scam. You've all been lining his pockets. So I aim to boot him from the company and turn it into a place where folks earn a fair wage. What's going to happen to him once he's out? Well, he'll probably drown in debt. And it looks like his wife only hitched her wagon to his wealth. If she discovers he's no longer the president, she'll likely leave him. Socially, I'll make sure no company will hire him. You can do that. The boss nodded, his gaze steely and resolute. Absolutely. I have connections and influence that allow me to make sure his reputation is completely ruined. The goal isn't just to exact revenge, it's to ensure justice for those he wronged and to restore dignity to the people working there. The enormity of his plan started to sink in. The scope of what he was proposing was both ambitious and audacious. Here was a man who, despite his ties to organized crime, was trying to address injustice through means that would not only seek retribution, but also aim for a greater good. I mulled over his offer, feeling a complex swirl of emotions. The chance to right a wrong, to see justice served, and to potentially benefit from this turn of events was both tempting and overwhelming. "All right," I said finally, with a mix of apprehension and resolve. "If you think this is the right way to handle it, and you're sure there's no way this could backfire, then I'm willing to help however I can." "Great," the boss said, a smile forming on his lips. "We'll start by gathering more information and strategizing the takeover. Your insight and experience will be invaluable." As we finished our drinks and prepared to leave the bar, I couldn't shake the feeling that my life had just taken a dramatic turn. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: I was about to be involved in something far bigger than I had ever imagined. Look, I'm the boss of Rilke. Okay, things like that are easy for me. I understand. I asked for your help because you were also a victim of his actions. I thought maybe you'd want revenge too. Yes, I think all the employees would feel the same way once they know about this. They probably would. If this goes well, I plan to expand that factory even more, and I want to make you the manager. Me, manager? Yes, I like you. Plus, you understand how that factory works, right? You're the perfect person for the job. But I'm just a high school graduate. That's impossible. What are you talking about? Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon for high school graduates to be presidents. If you lack education, you make up for it with experience and hard work. Saying that makes me feel like I could do it. Right? If you become the manager, I can rest easy leaving it in your hands. The first task will be taking over the factory. How about it? Are you in? I understand. Count me in. Good. Then tonight we'll drink to the future of the new company. As we were about to leave, a familiar voice called out, Well, look who it is, Mr. Potter. It's been ages. Say, what have you been up to these days? I'm guessing this is for business." "Hi, Mrs. Clark. Well, what a surprise. Long time no see. Oh, this? It's for business." "Oh, what kind of business?" "If it's to buy goods, my family has a shop too." "Ah, no, it's nothing like that. Just sorting out some issues related to the factory." "Factory? Oh yes, I heard. If there's anything I can help with, let me know. Oh, and where's my husband?" "Oh, he's in the middle of something. He's not around, is he?" "I see. Thank you, Mrs. Clark. I'll keep that in mind." After that brief exchange, the boss turned and headed towards the factory. I watched him go, feeling the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders. As soon as he stepped through the factory doors, my phone buzzed with a new message. "Thank you for accepting my request." The message from the boss came through, and it was clear that this was just the beginning of a much bigger endeavor. The challenge ahead was daunting, but there was a sense of purpose now. As I prepared for what was to come, the promise of a new start and the chance to make things right felt both exhilarating and intimidating. And there you have it, a riveting tale of unexpected twists and new beginnings. From a sudden job loss to a surprising opportunity for justice and redemption, this story truly highlights the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right. So what have you learned from today's journey? How do you think you would handle such an unexpected turn of events in your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please take a moment to comment below on one key takeaway you've gained from this story and how you plan to apply it to your life. Your insights and reflections are invaluable to us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Your support helps us create more stories and advice that matter. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.